and done. Until then, we're in a temporary building, which is fantastic and great, and it's within also not very far from here, and it's in the city of Aqaba. So the students have always access to the actual city of Aqaba and the people of Aqaba in shooting and filming for their own films. It's the only waterfront city for Jordan, Aqaba, and the people are quite laid back. Temperature-wise, it's fantastic atmosphere and fantastic weather. For our students, they just mingle with the local community here, and we have a lot of expatriates as well working on different projects in Aqaba. So we're part of this community that's really taking Aqaba bit by bit up and up and up to an international level of a city, the whole city to be on an international level.
As you've been seeing, things are just starting to get jamming here at the Red Sea Institute for Cinematic Arts. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to find out more about the lives of these interesting storytellers from the Middle East. Stay tuned. So we've learned quite a bit about the school, its founding, its ambitious agenda, and high-powered faculty. But what about these passionate students who are going to be leading the charge and setting the tone for a new wave of storytelling? The staff had some interesting things to say.
Most of them want to learn everything they can about filmmaking. And so they're coming into RSICA with just a wide open mind, and they're allowing themselves to kind of take everything in, everything that they can, every little morsel of information that they can get on filmmaking.
Our students are extraordinary people. They have wonderful stories that come from their heart, and they're finally releasing all of these stories. So that's why I think it was fundamental to do this institute.
I think they're discovering that they didn't know as much as they thought they did. And there's more cinema, more options of how to express yourself throughout history and throughout the world that is available to them. So they like coming to the cinema studies class because they see things that they didn't know existed, and then they turn that into ways that they can say what they want to say on their own in their own work.
I think the students have a lot of potential. Some of them come here with prior experience, although some come here having no experience in writing, even being sort of anxious about the whole idea of it. But by the time they get to the second year, second semester, they really have a strong ability to hone their craft and to tell the stories that they want to tell.
These students here who have been through so much in their lives compared to an average American student, to be able to speak, to be able to talk about their experience in a way that captures the imagination of someone who doesn't live next door to them, who doesn't understand everything that they're talking about instantly, I think will make the world a better place.
They are why we're here. They're an amazingly intelligent, creative, resourceful bunch, and I think they have every hope of success, not only for themselves, but they're so perceptive and so creative, and their skills are building all the time, that I think they're going to make eventually a huge impact on the region and hopefully internationally as well.
We have students from Egypt, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Tunisia, forgetting some, Kuwait, Dubai, and Iran. I probably forgot one. But they seem to, have a lot in common, and each country has its own traditions and so on. But partly because we're teaching in English, everybody is put on the same level, and so they have to share on some general plane that they might not have to if they were divided by country so much. So I think in a way the English medium faculty helps to bring people together.
Do you think that Arab American viewers at home might have a place at the Red Sea Institute?
Sure, we have a couple of students who grew up in the States, and of course their English is a lot better. And they wanted to come back to the Middle East, and they basically wanted to live in Jordan and work in Jordan. So sure, those people are welcome, absolutely. And in fact, they help us a lot because they can help people whose English is not quite as good and so on. So.
There you go. There's a home for you here in Aqaba. After all those flattering words bestowed upon the students, the bar was set pretty high. So I was expecting a sharp bunch when I sat down with them for a Q&A. I'm very curious, and I think a lot of our viewers are at home, what gave you guys the motivation, the inspiration to come down here and try to set a precedent at the Red Sea Institute of Cinematic Arts?
I decided to come to the Red Sea Institute for Cinematic Arts because I think filmmaking is my passion. And it's the first graduate school in the Middle East in filmmaking, especially in filmmaking. And we don't have cinema in Jordan yet, and I think it's starting to develop now. And I came here. It's kind of a risk that to leave everything behind you and just come here to study for 2 years for an industry that it's not here yet. But I think that RSICA and the first people of RSICA that will graduate from here, the people who will make the change and will start to make the cinema in Jordan. So and I want to be a part of that.
Getting into the cinema was not that clear idea I had to, I was planning to do when I grew up. But maybe I felt that the need of media and the need of cinema is what was really pushing me, in addition to the artistic part, because when you want to talk to the world, you have to talk about your own stories, you have to talk about your own hometown. And right now, I guess cinema is a very heavy and very effective weapon and tool, so we can communicate with others.
I think being here in Aqaba is at first I wasn't sure why we were here, why they chose this city particularly to be in. But as we got through the semester, I realized that if I was anywhere near anybody I know outside of filmmaking, it would be a big distraction.
We are learning here how to have an international connections, how to tell our stories, and we students are sure that we are not going to be a good copy makers from Hollywood. No, we are going to tell our own stories, which is from all parts of the Middle East and North Africa. I think we just need to learn how to tell them, and I'm happy to be here, even 1,000 kilometers away from my house.
One of the more recent media phenomenons that's developing in the United States is the fact that Arabs are becoming increasingly engaged within this paradigm, and they're really taking an active role and initiative in filmmaking. Do you think that you would ever collaborate with your Arab American brethren and kin in the United States in telling stories of this land?
Yes, I would collaborate with our brethren in the US, the Arab Americans there, to enhance our storytelling, because they know, some of them might know more about the American culture as well, and if we want to tell our stories to the world, I would collaborate with them to see how the other people would think of our stories and how we would tell them better to actually engage with the other audience, Americans, European, or whatever.
I was learning a lot from these film students. I saw that we had much in common, and I truly felt the sincerity in their collective voice as they yearned to relay messages within the region and beyond its borders. But most of all, it was strikingly clear to me that they realized how important it is to seize this moment in time.
We are fortunate enough as Middle Easterners that people want to hear our stories. There are other people with cinematic industries or film industries, and people aren't really keen to hear their stories from other parts of the world. But there's a huge demand to understand our way of life, and as long as we don't do anything about it, they'll keep making movies about us that aren't really accurate, let's say, which are deeply rooted in assumptions, misconceptions, etc., etc. And so I think that this is the first step towards making authentic stories that will, as